Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar today, where we're going to be exploring beyond tax. The future is advisory. I'm Peter Towers, founder and managing director of ESS BIZTOOLS. Welcome. If you have any questions during the webinar, can you please log on to chat and send me through the question, and I will attempt to answer it later in the webinar. If you're watching this webinar on the live feed to social media, can you send me an email if you have a question, please? peter@essbiztools.com.au. And if you're watching this webinar at a time more convenient to you, the same applies. Please send me an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au. Why tax can't just happen without you. This was the opening comments made by the then Tax Commissioner, Chris Jordan, at the Xerocon 2022 convention in Sydney on the 8th of September 2022. Yes, about 1 week short of 3 years ago. What's happened in that 3 years? What I wanted to do today is revisit some of the key points that Chris Jordan expressed, and then track through what the accountancy industry preparation is and how many people are really offering the range of services that Mr. Jordan suggested. And then over the month of September, we're going to work through a whole range of activities relative to the supplying of trusted services to SMEs to help them in their business operations. So let's revisit some of the words that Chris Jordan had to say. In the introduction, he said he was at this conference, which is Xerocon, of course, to give some insights into what the future of the Australian taxation system would look like. Put simply, it's a future where tax just happens. Interesting comment. Last week, he said, our executive group endorsed a new digital strategy, which is a vision for the ATO to be fully digitised by 2030. Now, they're virtually 3 years into that program, which was looking at what was going to occur by 2030, which is obviously a further 5 years away. But I imagine that they're well underway. It would have been nice if the tax office under the new commissioner would have given us an update of where they're going, what they've achieved on this vision, and whether there's any further changes. But as far as I know, they haven't done that. So in his presentation, Mr. Jordan then went to the principles guiding us forward. And he said there are 5 principles in the ATO's digital strategy. So let's have a look at them. Principle 1 was leverage natural systems. He indicated that the taxation officer's interpretation of natural systems is that they want businesses and their representatives to be able to interact with the ATO through the software or tools that the businesses are already using to run their business and manage their finances. That was their plan. It's going to be interesting to see how close they get to that. But they really emphasised this system being based on natural systems. And Mr. Jordan indicated that the OECD, which is a United Nations type organisation, had established what they called 3.0 as their vision for 2030. So it's not only Australia that's got this vision. What Mr. Jordan had indicated, he'd been to a meeting with 50 other countries, which obviously formed the OECD and they'd adopted this policy of 3.0, which is seamless, integrated and automated systems. And these would allow data to flow from the system's taxpayers already in use system to the ATO without any extra effort or intervention from the business. Sounds interesting. But as some of the critics of this policy outlined at the time, there's still a lot of work got to be done by accountants and bookkeepers to make sure that the data is correct in the first place. But we'll leave that to another day. Mr. Jordan indicated that Tax 3.0 is the ATO's North Star, as he called it, where reporting, payment and real-time compliance checks coincide with a taxable event. I think a lot of you will be wanting to think that one through, because that really means that tax is determined there and then based on that transaction. Mr. Jordan also indicated that the closer we get to real-time, event-based reporting and payment, there is more certainty and less burden for everyone. Well, at least that's the taxation officer's point of view. Now, principle 2 was imagine the impossible, image the impossible. He said it's about adapting a transformation mindset. He used as an example e-invoicing. Suppliers no longer need to print, post or email paper-based or PDF invoices, and buyers don't need to manually enter or scan invoices into their software, he said. He also indicated that they're dreaming big, but this is the essence of the tax admin 3.0. So they're dreaming big. Principle 3, sustainable digitisation and benefits. What this means is wherever possible, we reuse existing systems and capabilities, Mr. Jordan said, and we design new systems with reuse in mind. Principle 4, integrity by design. He indicated that the tax office had begun a fundamental shift towards embedding fraud prevention measures into systems as part of the initial design process. And then we turn to principle number 5, design for the user. And this is where some of these publicised views on accountants and bookkeepers dealing with this system really come to the fore. Chris Jordan said we need to work together to design solutions where taxpayers, tax professionals, digital service providers, and the ATO all genuinely benefit and can clearly see what is in it for each of us. You won't be designed out of the tax system as technology progresses. I'm going to repeat that clause because that's one of the more interesting ones, I believe. You won't be designed out of the tax system as technology progresses. And Mr. Jordan went on to say, I want to assure you that we have no intention of designing tax professionals out of the system as technology progresses. The role of agents and other intermediaries is changing, he said, with new entrants and new ways of operating. He indicated the ATO will do everything it can to support the evolution of the role of agents and others in the system. He didn't describe who the others were, but they're supporting the evolution of the role of agents and others in the system. And then he made this comment. But you must understand that if your business model is high volume, low margin, simple tax returns, your business will not be viable in 3 to 5 years, which today would read 1 week to 2 years. Your business will not be viable. You should be looking to diversify to remain viable longer term, he added. There's been a lot of debate as to what that clause really means, how it's going to come about. But that's what he said, and that was obviously what the intention of the technology upgrades and digitalisation within the tax office meant to them at least. What we need to think about as accountants and bookkeepers is how are you making preparations for these doomsday type predictions that were made 3 years ago. Mr. Jordan went on to say the system is changing because the world is changing. And at the Taxation Office, our goal is to not just adapt to it, but to embrace the opportunities that come with it. So the Tax Office is trying to embrace the opportunities. The question I would be putting to you is, are accountants, bookkeepers, business advisors, CFO service organisations embracing the opportunities? Because if you're not, and you are in the category that he really singled out at this stage, high volume, low margin, simple tax returns, he was saying that you would have, in effect, some severe problems by this because, as I've already indicated, if we adjust his timetable to suit the situation that we're 2 years and 51 weeks later, the expectancy for these very significant changes were only 1 week to 2 years away. The system is changing because the world is changing. And at the ATO, our goal is not just to adapt to it, but to embrace the opportunities that come with it. Are you doing that in your firm? And then he went on to say, and the system needs you to do the same. So focus on where you can add value for your clients. Keywords, add value for your clients. And then he said, focus on becoming a brilliant and trusted advisor. A brilliant and trusted advisor. Focus on improving the tax performance of your clients. Probably had to get that one in, I suppose. After all, he was the tax commissioner. Now, the responses that speech obtained were quite interesting, and let's have a look at a couple of them. The Accountants Daily commented the next day, the 9th of September 2022, the future, according to the Tax Commissioner, provokes a range of reactions from the profession, said Philip King. The tax profession has responded with everything from confusion to complete agreement with the Tax Commissioner's vision of the future, where tax just happens. Comments from confusion to disagreement, but others were firmly in agreement, was the comments that were made in Accountants Daily. ESS BizTools are committed, to supporting accountancy and bookkeeping firms who wish to take up the challenge given to them by the former Tax Commissioner, Chris Jordan. And he did lay down the challenge, didn't he? Become a trusted advisor to your clients. So what we've done within ESS BizTools, we have got 14 key departments in our overall package of services, which we make available to SMEs. To accountants and bookkeepers to deliver to SMEs. Prospect marketing. What's it cover? It covers the Accountant's Minute article, which we write each week, and it's distributed to thousands of accountants around Australia. And if you're not receiving it, please send us an email and we'll put you on the mailing list. We produce a podcast each week, which for the month of September, the podcast will be prepared on a Thursday or Friday, and we'll tell you 1 week in advance. Next week's are on a Thursday at 4 p.m. AEST, because that was the time convenient to our keynote speaker that day, who's Andrew Geddes, well-known accountancy industry trainer, consultant, one of the founders of the Financial Management Research Centre, which was at the University of New England in Armidale 40-odd years ago, and a man who had a great career as a public company director. He was chair for 10 years of a company which started as a one-person veterinary surgery business and one nurse working for him in Townsville, and grew to be Green Cross Limited, a nationwide veterinary services business and pet food operation, top 200 ASX company. Andrew's going to comment on how the profession's gone on delivering new services, new activities to counteract the problems that the former Tax Commissioner was outlining. We hold prospect webinars throughout the year, and we produce a ESS BizTools podcast on various things. Communication with members. We have special outboarding training for new members, new firms that join us. And we produce Members Alert about 10 times a year, which is just a summary of new things, new activities, the training program, and keeping our members alert. Members team training. Team training is very important because the delivery of advisory services and our concentrations on financial, commercial, management accounting is the key concept of the advisory services. And that's the key information that an employed accountant working in some of your clients' competitors, maybe a little bit bigger, would be supplying to their employer. They're not just there to produce a monthly profit and loss account, but they're there to give input daily, weekly, monthly. And we produce team training webinars. Under marketing and promotional tools for members, we have the SME needs analysis, which is a great document to pose some questions, dot points, I call them, that our subscribers are able to offer up to SMEs to see if they've got any comment or questions on it. It's a great way to start a conversation, because you've got to remember that thousands of the SMEs believe that their accountants are only good at income tax. We've got to remind them that as a profession, we've been trained in a whole range of other activities, and we can help small businesses to run their businesses effectively, to help them to be able to operate so that they do not end up a business failure. We produce a monthly newsletter called Business Plus, which our subscribers badge and send to their clients. It's a call to action We each month have 4 to 6 separate articles looking at different items affecting various people operating small businesses. And each article ends with a call to action. Would you like to come and talk to us about the problem you're having with your debtors management? And we could implement a debtors management advisory system. Is the proactive manner that Business Clusters utilize. Client mentoring and coaching is a series of material. There's 12 series in the overall package that our members can utilize to promote services that they're then able to offer direct to their clients and to their prospects. Client seminars and webinars is looking at giving material to you so that you could use it to communicate with your clients. We give you the PowerPoint slides that we've used. We give you the timetable, suggested presentation. We give you the version that we've already produced, but obviously we're giving it to you just to give you an idea. You might pick up some of our mistakes. Just don't make them yourselves. And one of your partners or senior managers or your champion in a particular area. It might be crowdsourced funding equity raising. It might be research and development introduction. Can then present a webinar which could go to your clients, but also you could upload it to your website so it's available to anyone who wants to look at it as a means of promoting the services that you're able to offer. And we have a segment on selling advisory services because that's very important. Understand how you're going to introduce your clients to this concept. Then we have Know Your Client. That's very important. We call it the business analysis review so that you will know your client 1 inch wide but a mile deep. And that's very important. And in my experience of having been a partner in an accounting firm, senior partner in an accounting firm, but having spent 12 years in a public company as the chief financial officer and company secretary, I know I knew a lot more about the entity that I was employed by when I was in that company secretary CFO role in a listed public company than what I got to know about most of my clients. A couple of them, I got to know them very much in detail because I was involved as an investor in those companies. But in most cases, we don't know our clients when we're basically just preparing tax returns 1 inch wide and a mile deep. Administration, what's that relate to? Well, it relates to, first of all, the rhythm of meetings. Very important. And Andrew Geddes next week will emphasize that in our podcast, that businesses need a rhythm of meetings. And if certain people can't attend, well, the meeting still goes on because people should have this habit, this rhythm. Some of those meetings on a daily basis might only be for 5 minutes. But the weekly meetings are very important of the leadership team to analyze actual performance in that previous week that finished a couple of days earlier. We have corporate governance. Very important that the leadership team in particular understand the courtesies of corporate governance, but the obligations, the requirements, the legalities. We've got material that you would use to alert your clients to those processes. Company secretary support. You know, a lot of people running private companies appoint someone to be the company secretary. Not much thought ever given to it. Some of those people appointed as company secretaries might be very alarmed if they did read the Corporations Act and had a clear understanding of what their corporate responsibilities are. So we've detailed those so that the person who is the company secretary is in no doubt as to what their duties entail, but also what their responsibilities are. And then we turn to board of advice. I think the concept of board of advice is very important, but it's not a social event. It's not a Friday afternoon with beer and pizza. It should be serious. I think the board of advice members should be paid commercial rates, because your client wants them to turn up to those meetings with their brain in gear, thinking about this particular business that they're an advisor for. So it's critical that your system is set up, that you're conveying to your clients that the information relating to this meeting should be in the hands of those board of advice members, I think at least 3 days before the meeting. Why? So they can read the information, they can think about it, and they can turn up with the brain in gear to answer. And then board of directors. Far too many companies have just got the one director and nothing really happens. As businesses grow and mature as companies, I think they should be having directors' meetings. Now, they might not have a board of advice meeting in that case. They would just go straight through to a board of directors meeting. And we've got material there to guide you through that. Corporate planning, what's that mean? Well, it's the business plan preparation. Probably the most important aspect following the know your client, the business review analysis. And the business plan is not a matter of you just saying to the client, okay, I'll go off and prepare a business plan for you. I think you need to sit down, use the material which is in ESS BIZTOOLS. We got 40 questionnaires relating to contents of what will be included in a business plan. But you need to use that to get the leadership team to resolve all the issues. Why? Because they are the ones who have to implement it. And if they haven't helped prepare it, they are not going to be very keen on implementing. And as soon as something goes a bit wrong, the going gets tough, they'll just wipe their hands of it and say, well, we didn't prepare it. That accountant guy you brought in, or lady, they did it. You don't want that. This has got to be a living document. So they need to have ownership. And then we turn to the predictive accounting reports. Now, this is budgets for all operations, not all put together in one. That's a hopeless document for management purposes to analyse how performance is actually going. And if any of you have done jobs which trying to understand what's gone wrong in a business, it can be a real nightmare if everything's been thrown together. Years ago, the biggest job like that I took on at that stage had about 18 separate business operations and one profit and loss account. And suddenly, from what had been a successful business, suddenly started losing money. And no one knew why. So I got approached by the bank as well as the directors of that business. Would I go in with one of my accountants and review the business? And we did, and we found the problem. But it was very difficult. Thank goodness the person who was the clerk in the organisation had kept the invoices separate. She knew which activities the invoices related to. So at least we could break down the revenue and then some of the expenses. And then we found the culprit. There'd been a change in costs because of different routes that the trucks, they had a whole stack of trucks this business were taking, because a particular bridge had had its tear weight reduced. So the trucks couldn't go over it. And they ended up doing an extra, and worked out 400 kilometres because they had to avoid this bridge. And that went on for 8 months. And the management of the company claimed they didn't know the route had changed because they hadn't adjusted their prices. And it was all hidden because it was all in one profit and loss account. And they would all scratch their heads and this was the activity that caused the problem, was the favourite of the managing director. I don't think he even thought about it. That could have been that activity. He blamed everyone else. So that cost that company a lot of money. because it went on for 8 months. And that's why I'm so emphatic that we must have individual P&Ls. And when I joined a public company that had a few hundred activities, and some were very big, we were in the meat industry. Some of those activities were very big meat works for the international trade, but others were butcher shops, small goods factories, small businesses. Every one of them had their own separate profit and loss account and their weekly performance report. So the predictive accounting reports are very important, because what we're looking at is budgets for all operations, the key drivers, which is the connection to analyse your inventory, your debtors, looking at debtors' days outstanding. Creditors' days outstanding is important, because if you've done your cash flow that the creditors will allow you to trade on a 40-day term, you should get alarmed if suddenly you find that your creditors' days outstanding are back at 25 days. And I've seen that happen, because the person making the payments, oh, well, I'll just pay them all straight away. And then someone's saying, geez, we've run out of money. So you need to be inquiring of these things. The cash flow forecast and the projected balance sheet. I love the projected balance sheets, because you can sit down then and be the person that gives the overview of the performance to your clients. You can show them this is what this business will look like in 3 years' time. 52-week business enhancement system is a key fundamental concept within ESS BIZTOOLS, because we believe that the business should rotate around daily, weekly, monthly. Daily is a brief report, so it's a rhythm of meetings for that, but weekly is a performance report and profitability report as to how they went that week. That can be produced. There's a few estimates comes into that calculation, but it gives you an immediate insight as to how the business operations went in that week. And if there's a problem, it has to get fixed. Business valuation. We've got a lot of material in our system looking at raising capital, raising funds, negotiating with banks and other lenders. It's a good idea for the business to be able to very quickly prepare an up-to-date valuation to assure the investors or lenders what the status quos are. My apologies, I didn't keep on bringing up. Cash management. Cash management's cash flow improvement. It's dealing with banks. It's monitoring the cash flow forecast, looking at market conditions, international trends. The wars that are going on around the world do not help anyone that's doing on an international basis, especially if they're relying on shipping, marine shipping, the delivery of products or the receipt of raw materials or products. What that can mean is that inventories get significantly affected. Management gets worried. They need to bring more raw materials in as quick as possible, so they stockpile it. What's that mean? The investment in inventories goes up. What's that do to the cash flow? What's it going to cause 7 or 8 months down the track? How's the business going to finance its operations at that stage? These are the important questions that if you're going to be really offering the advisory services that we envisage, that you've got to be looking at and thinking about. Number 9, advisory and strategic support tools. Strategic business mentoring. This is more of a company secretary, chief financial officer role. Business evaluation workshops. Business health checks for key industries. We've got proposal health checks for 5 separate industries, and we're working on another 5 at present. Key performance indicators and business metrics, very important. Key data. I found in a public company. Actually, I found most of the leadership team members were not really interested in the profit and loss account. What they wanted to read was the key performance indicators, because they knew what they should have been. They knew what the yield percentage should have been. They knew what the gross profit percentage should have been. They knew what the weight gain or weight loss percentage should have been. So by being able to give that to them, they had an assurance that, okay, they know where they're at. And benchmarking, data preparation. We need to be getting reports back to our clients. And there are benchmarking services, but you need to set it up. Make sure the client's recording the right data that they can then be entered into the commercial processes. Tax Fitness has got a very good benchmarking report that I would suggest you have a look at. Business development tools, buying a business, selling a business, succession planning. Very important areas. We've got complete manuals on those activities. Financial management and growth services, debtors management system. One of the biggest single problems confronting small, medium enterprises, the management of debtors. So we've got a debtor systems manual that you can produce. Business strategies workshop, virtual chief financial officer services. We've summarised just how I believe, as having been a CFO, how you could perform the role with your clients. And scaling up business operations. Some of your clients will want to grow. Their turnover is currently $1 million and they want to go to 10 million within 2 to 3 years. They need your assistance, because if they try to do that on their own with no input, unfortunately, the statistics say they won't succeed. Capital raising and grant access. There's tremendous opportunities to raise capital these days. Wasn't around when I was a young accountant, but it's there now. So we've got crowdsource funding equity raising. They can raise up to $5 million in 12 months, as long as their international turnover is less than $25 million. Early stage innovation company. They've developed a new product or service or concept. They've done some research and development. They can be given an extra glow, if you like, in the eyes of investors, because the government gives the investors a taxation reward if they invest in a company that qualifies for that description. If you don't know about it, please contact us. We have got full product packages. Section 708, it's been there for many years, was originally in the individual state legislation before the Consolidated Corporations Act, but it's got limits as to what it can be done. Venture capital, we talk about that. And then the grants, export market development grant. A client over a 7-year period can get about $780,000 in grants. Research and development, we've split it into two. First of all is the introduction, so that you can answer basic questions. You've got to be a company. You've got to spend more than $20,000 in the financial year on legitimate research and development. And yes, there's records to be kept. So you can start to have that initial conversation, because there's a lot of SMEs undertake R&D, but they end up going to the big 4 and top 100 firms because they don't think their accountants able to help them. We've got the Industry Growth Program, which is the current federal government's main grant program delivered at small businesses. They can obtain for preliminary research grants of up to $250,000, and for the actual implementation of a very good strategy. And I stress that because when you hear the sum of money that they can obtain, you'd obviously expect it to be very good, up to $5 million. Now they're going to match this. So many of them need assistance in that raising of capital category, crowdsource funding, equity raising, or whatever. So that we have this concept of helping them on the innovation journey from the original idea through to raising capital and being in the wider business community. And probably there's an opportunity for you to be the ongoing CFO. Operational risk management, personal property securities register. Don't forget it, it's still there and it can still bite some of your clients. And risk management monitoring, looking at all the various risks. And the industry-specific support systems we've developed at ESS BIZTOOLS. For the trades industry, primarily making sure they get their charge-out rates calculated correctly to earn their targeted profit. Retail wholesale businesses, they've got products, all different markups and quantities. How do they bring all that into the mix and plan it so that they can achieve their profit? We have a system on a spreadsheet which will help you deliver that. Professional service firms, very similar to the tradies charge out rate calculator. And manufacturing businesses, slightly different to the trades businesses, but you can help them on that journey. They're the ESS BIZTOOLS responses to the challenge that the former tax commissioner gave. This transformation will benefit progressive professional service firms, because I would expect that every accounting and bookkeeping and business advisory firm in Australia has thought about what the tax commissioner had to say, and hopefully you've developed some strategies, because it's fast approaching when it might be a little bit too late. So the ATO's digital transformation presents an outstanding opportunity for professional service firms who support SMEs to offer more practical assistance, daily, weekly, monthly, to improve your client's success rate. It's a golden opportunity for accountants, bookkeepers, business advisors, which I think you should grasp, as it will assist you in supplying business-enhancing systems to SMEs. And it will also offer interesting and challenging work within your team, and this will assist you. I know it assists in the other firms that are using our products and services to attract talent and to retain talent. And I know that's an enormous issue for accountancy and bookkeeping firms around Australia. This process opens the opportunity for firms which enthusiastically embrace the benefits of delivering trusted advisor services. You'll be financially rewarded because you'll be producing significant, in-depth business advice that you have not been able to produce whilst you were concentrating on tax returns. And incidentally, the number of tax returns you actually produce in your firm may well reduce, because you'll be generating additional revenue from offering real advisory services to help your clients to really grow and succeed. You don't have to spend hundreds of hours in developing your own resource material to equip you to deliver the services your clients require. I started this whole project 26 years ago because at the time no one else had it available. I offered to buy it from FMRC, Financial Management Research Centre, but they told me they were not in the business to do that. They had various notes, and I've worked closely with Andrew Geddes ever since, but they didn't have a package. No one had a package. I sat down and started to write one because from my public company experience, I knew that there was a way forward for us to adopt. So you don't have to do it yourself. We've done it for you. We can supply the onboarding material where you bring your client in, you do that initial team training, you get their enthusiasm up, we try to get across to them that this is different to offering tax advice. They're going to have far more contact with the clients. The systems, I've given you an overview of what the names of them are, but they're there. And then your team members have to be trained. And we support. We have monthly training sessions. We write a weekly, we produce a monthly members alert, and we produce a monthly newsletter for you to badge and send to your clients. I talked to you before that about Business Plus. And this will help you provide a range of financial, commercial, management, accounting advisory services, which will assist your SME clients to survive and thrive. And if they wish, they can scale up into much larger organisations with your assistance. I think this is the practical delivery of becoming a brilliant and trusted advisor. that Chris Jordan referred to. 2 years and 51 weeks ago. Become a brilliant and trusted advisor. You can do it. And in fact, the SME community needs you to do it because failure rates are far too high. Just read some of the material that the Small Business Ombudsman produces. So if you want to know more, we would love to hear from you. But first of all, can I respectfully suggest that you go to our website, www.essbiztools.com.au, and look at the range of services which we are supplying to accountants and bookkeepers all over Australia. Or you can book a complimentary Zoom meeting. Just send us an email, please, peter@essbiztools.com.au, and we will get back to you with suggested date and time. About 40 minutes. I'll ask you some questions. You can ask me some questions, and I'll develop a strategy that I think will work for your firm to be able to enable you to deliver an outstanding range of professional services for your clients. Have a great day, and I look forward to hearing from you. So I hope that we will be able to talk to you more in the not too distant future. Stay safe. Have a great day. Goodbye.